And now, please welcome Marriott International President of Asia Pacific, excluding China, Rajeev Menon, in discussion with Skift Senior Research Analyst, Pranavi Agarwal.
All right, well, I'm delighted to share the stage with Raj Menon from Marriott. This year marks 25 years since Marriott opened its first hotel in India. Raj has been part of Marriott's growth story in India since the real beginning, and it's a great pleasure to have you here, Raj. Welcome.
Thanks so much. Thank you.
So we have a first slide, which could be put up. Yeah, so I think this sums up kind of Marriott's story into India really well. So yeah, just take a look at this chart. So you can see that in 2009, your then CEO of Marriott, Arne Sorensen, he said that India is not a very big market for Marriott, nor for the hotel industry as a whole. Fast forward to today, and you yourself, at a shareholder meeting last September, said that Marriott has grown so much in India that is now the largest player in India. If you're already the largest, are you still investing in growth in India?
We absolutely are. I have always had a view that India represents decades-long growth story. And when you look at India transitioning from today being the fifth largest economy to third in the next 5 years, you will see that the branded hotel rooms is going to go from about 180,000 today to almost 300,000. And we believe there's an incredible opportunity as India acquires more wealth, middle class transitions into upper middle class, and we are seeing this happening firsthand today. So we are very bullish on the country. We have 148 hotels open as we speak, and another 79 under construction. We signed a Ritz-Carlton in Jaipur just on Monday, a stunning hotel which is going to be built over 45 acres of land. So I am incredibly proud of the team that represents Marriott here in India, and both from operations and development point of view.
Would you say that Marriott India has a seat at the table at your global headquarters in Bethesda in the US?
Absolutely. Again, when you think about what's going on globally, the geopolitical challenges that US and China are dealing with, India has definitely become a focus point. Now for us, Arne had a special love for India.
Right.
And for years as CEO, he would come here on an annual basis. And he had a number of meetings with Prime Minister Modi over the years, again, with the focus that we wanted to have a seat on the table from policy point of view, just to continue to push travel and tourism forward. And that has paid dividends. So when you think about where we are today, within Marriott or outside, within India, there is strong level of optimism that this country is going to continue to grow and could eventually be the third biggest market for us after US, China, and then India. It's not today. We're the fifth biggest at the moment, but we are racing towards becoming the third biggest in the next few years.
So let's talk a little bit about brand development. I think Marriott generally has done pretty well to import brands into new markets in the past. For example, you launched the brand Moxy in 2014 specifically to target millennial consumers. I think we have a good video on Moxy as well. And in 2015, you specifically acquired Delta Hotels specifically to target growth in Canada. So you're not afraid of M&A, you're not afraid of launching new brands. Do you think India also needs a homegrown brand in order to grow your distribution more quickly?
Does India need a homegrown brand? Maybe eventually we will consider that, but we have believed that we have incredible portfolio of brands, and we have 31 of those, 17 of which are represented in the country as we speak. But one thing we've been very clear about is whenever we bring a brand to India, we spend enough time researching on the brand and figuring out would that fit what the consumer here wants. Mm-hmm. And I'll give you an example. Back in 2008-9, we did a fair bit of work on Fairfield by Marriott. At that time, the view was that we would basically bring Fairfield into the country as middle class was starting to grow. And as we did the research, it was very clear. First, in those days, it used to be Fairfield Inn in the US, that inn would not work
Right.
in India. Just a connotation. There was this expectation that Indian consumer, and we did incredible amount of research, wanted some kind of delivery to the room, irrespective if it was a 3-star product or a 4-star product. They wanted a little restaurant, because often these hotels in secondary, tertiary markets ends up becoming the social hub of the city. And as a result, we bought a Fairfield into India that had delivery to the room. It had a restaurant. It had services that we don't have in the West. And it's been a runaway success. We have 27 open, another 10 under construction, and similarly with Courtyard by Marriott. So I can give you example after example of brands that we brought into the country that have worked out because of the research that we've done before. So we think that as we bring new brands, we will continue to stay very committed to focus, to doing the research on what the Indian consumer wants, and then bring those. And this year is the year for Moxie, which we launched in Bangalore a couple of months ago. Again, early reports, it's doing really, really well. We're looking forward to showcasing it to our partners next month. And we have at least 2 more under construction as we speak.
Just kind of coming back to, you mentioned Fairfield. I think launching kind of mid-scale brands in the West doesn't necessarily translate to mid-scale in India. You already talked a little bit about the F&B offering. But if you just look at the price point, I think a Fairfield in India still costs like $40, $50 a night. That is 5 times the cost of the daily income of an average Indian. So there's still a pretty big gap there. So it's a reality that even in your mid-scale hotels, you're actually still targeting very much upscale travelers.
And again, please keep in mind that Indians are transitioning themselves. As today we are present in more than 40 cities across the country. And you would be amazed how much spending power is in the secondary and tertiary markets. Mm-hmm. And often it is the Fairfields or the Courtyards that end up becoming, as I said earlier, the social hub for the city. Now, as a company, we acquired City Express in Mexico last year, which is City Express by Marriott, which is a real mid-scale brand. We also launched 4 Points Express in Europe. And at some point in time, we may consider bringing those brands into India as the market evolves. But given our current portfolio of 17 brands, we feel pretty comfortable that we have the right mix, and we will continue to grow.
So you said that India is going to be your 3rd biggest market, but you're acquiring brands in Latin America. Why aren't you acquiring brands in India in mid-scale?
Well, when you think about where we are here today, we see incredible opportunity for organic growth.
Right.
So I will, the company over many, many years has grown through M&A. Ritz-Carlton in the late 90s, Starwood, a few years ago. So we're not close to M&A, but we also see an incredible opportunity for organic growth. When you think about just from start of last year to end of February, we had signed 28 deals in India with some 4,600 keys. We see incredible opportunity for growth. And again, this year is really going strong as well.
Yeah, I guess that really hits the nail on the head. I think the real opportunity in mid-scale isn't about price. It's about volume, right? And India is really very much of a volume market. So how are you targeting that volume?
When you think about Marriott Bonvoy as our loyalty platform, right? Today, globally, we have 200 million plus members. It's single-handedly the largest program, and it's only been in existence for 5 years. What we tend to see is it's this aspiration piece with the consumers that they may come in at Fairfield level or a Moxie, and then over time will start using hotels like a JW Marriott or a St. Regis or or Ritz-Carlton for that matter. So we genuinely see enough opportunity. And when the time is right, we may look at bringing Midscale here from a bigger volume point of view. But it's also very important for us, being a management company, that everything we do, we look at it from a lens of that we are able to deliver great returns to our owner partners. And for that, we've been very successful, because when you think about our growth, nearly 50% of our deals every year that we sign are with our existing partners. And that shows the level of trust that we are delivering to them. As a result, they're growing with us.
Yeah, interesting you mentioned the owners. How much can the owners rely on pricing growth as a means to achieve higher returns in India? India, is a very fragmented market. It has very low levels of supply in relation to population size and rising demand growth. So as the largest operator, do you have a lot of pricing power? Can you allow your hotel owners to have that pricing power as well?
We believe that there is incredible amount of pricing power. When you think about just last year, our RevPAR in India grew some 32% over the year before. It was up close to about 35% since 2019. And much of it was driven by rate. Again, we remain very focused with, fairly advanced revenue management systems. And in most cases, we are managing our hotels to be able to deliver incredible returns to our owners. And they see the comparison, because in many cases, they have other brands. And they tell us how we are performing versus our competitors.
So just interesting, we were speaking before on a call, and you mentioned the differences between land cost and pricing between India and the West. Please tell our audience, I think it was a very interesting little fact.
Yeah, this was a debate that, was around 2011, 2012, when India was really getting squeezed. There was a lot of supply that came in suddenly. And again, we all know land costs in India tends to be very, very high. In some cases, up to 50% of the project cost.
50%, wow.
And then, in those days, you could only get 10-year loans. Now it's gone up to 15 years.
Yes.
But keep in mind, again, in those days, best interest rate you could get was about 14%. Now it's 11%. Now compare that to the US, where banks were just giving away money for free almost. That's where the big squeeze was. That hotels were taking a long time to come out of ground. On average, say in other markets, look at Australia, Singapore, Japan, we could open a hotel within 2 years. Here it could take 3 to sometimes 7, 8 years, right? And when you are taking that long and you have to pay back the loan in the next 3 to 4 years, it becomes very, very difficult. So what we've been doing, and this is some of the things, Tony Capuano, our current CEO, met with Prime Minister Modi yesterday, and we talked about it, last year, and we talked about it, and then Ani was very big on this as well in the past. And PM Modi actually has taken it on about single window clearances, about figuring out ways to expedite the construction, and our push to give the industry infrastructure status so that we can actually get loans that are at much lower interest rates, our owner partners, and for a longer duration. So you really want the business to be sustainable from a long-term perspective. And we remain pretty hopeful that will happen sooner.
So do you foresee expansion into smaller hotels with 100 rooms or less, or the loan kind of equation just doesn't work out there?
We have been doing smaller hotels, but mostly in resort locations. So when you think about a stunning resort that we opened in Missouri back in 2014, the JW Marriott, it's 115 keys. We have a number of other resorts coming up in Ranthambore, in Corbett National Park, and other locations that are smallish in nature. But that doesn't preclude us from running big boxes. We have, by far, some of the biggest big boxes in India. In fact, at the end of next year, if not early 26, we will open the Marriott Marquis in St. Regis here in Delhi, in AeroCity. that has 7,000 square meters of meeting space. So, we have considerable number of large boxes spread across major cities.
Yes.
And we believe there's opportunity in all of this space. Now, pre-COVID, a lot of deals that we were signing were in the upscale select service space. Last year, 77% of the deals we signed were in the luxury and premium space. And in many cases, these were resorts. And the resorts tend to be a little smaller.
So, I mean, speaking about smaller hotels, I have to mention OYO. Are you going head-to-head with OYO at all in the mid-scale space? OYO. You have the same logos, really. The block, red and white letters, very similar. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about OYO. That I'll leave it to Ritesh. But, from our perspective, we see India as an opportunity to have a Ritz-Carlton Reserve one day, right down to Moxie, which is starting to do really well. So if tomorrow there's an opportunity, we will bring the mid-scale brand to India as well. So we think this truly is a country with incredible amount of opportunity in every segment of the industry.
So let's talk about some opportunities that are very specific to India. The weddings, the religious tourism. Just anecdotally, over the weekend, I was visiting a temple in Puri in Orissa. Now, this was a very domestic market. I did see you have a Sheraton there, actually. But is it just to have kind of a small presence, or do you see this as a real strategic opportunity to you?
There is definitely a strategic opportunity. In fact, we have just talked about our 150th hotel in India is going to be the Marriott in Katra on the way to Vaishno Devi. We're going to open it in the next couple of months. Again, incredible hotel. And, religious tourism really represents a great opportunity for the industry broadly. Because in the past, as many of us traveled to these places, there was really nothing but guest houses for us to stay at. And, as Indians from overseas show up in the country, as Indians within the country acquire wealth and travel to these destinations, they want a better product. There's opportunity for small weddings in these locations. So we have signed a Marriott in Ayodhya. We have few hotels in Amritsar, as I just talked about, opening a hotel in Katra, and a number of other markets where we are very active, either in negotiation or a hotel under construction. So we strategically see this as an opportunity, as much as secondary and tertiary markets across the country.
Yeah, speaking of direct bookings and Bonvoy, let's put up the next chart on kind of branded share. So yeah, you can see in this chart here that India is a very fragmented market, and that means there's a lot of wide-scale opportunity for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, and that includes the OTAs. We're hearing from Booking.com just straight after this. But because the market is so fragmented, would you say that the OTAs are more of a threat in India than in the US, which is a much more branded market?
I have Rajesh from Make My Trip here. Deep is a dear friend. In real terms, I would always say it's like frenemies. We are friends more than we are enemies.
Yes.
Ultimately, we need each other. We've got to work together. As far as Marriott is concerned, our view, particularly driven with Marriott Bonvoy, is that we want our customers coming direct. And they do come direct, which is the cheapest channel of business for us. So for us, over 50% of our bookings across our system come from Marriott Bonvoy.
Right.
And that is growing. We have over 6 million members here. Since 2019, Marriott Bonvoy membership has surged 50% in Asia Pacific ex-China in our world. So again, we see that as this new traveler comes through, they are very aspirational. They want to be part of a program where they can have access to incredible options all around the world, and not just hotel options. Experiences like Ed Sheeran in Mumbai on Saturday, or Taylor Swift, or Australian Open tennis.
Though Taylor Swift's only performing in Singapore, so not coming to India. I think we have a good question here on Bonvoy. Marriott is a global hotel brand, so you have a part to play not just within the domestic market, but also inbound and outbound. So yeah, what role does Bonvoy play in that outbound opportunity for you?
Again, incredible program from the point of view that as our customers either staying with our hotels here or traveling overseas, they want to be part of the system, right? And in many cases, they may have built up points staying in India, and they may show up in Maldives to redeem their points at a stunning St. Regis or a Ritz-Carlton resort. What we see across the board is that as our distribution grows, as our membership grows, there is a lot of inbound and outbound travel where folks are Marriott Bonvoy members. I was just in a meeting yesterday with one of our partners who had booked somebody from Korea at a different hotel, and they said the gentleman who was coming in basically canceled that booking and booked into one of ours.
Right.
And he said, "Why did you do that?" Because I booked you literally next to my office. And he said, "No, I'm a Bonvoy member, and I'd rather stay at a Marriott hotel," which was 30 minutes down the road. So we see that happening all the time.
Yes.
Because our customers are committed to the program. We create an ecosystem for them where they are not just acquiring points in hotel stays. We have in Asia launched Earn and Redeem. So customers who are not even staying at hotels
Yes.
are showing up in restaurants and earning points on their meal experience, or burning points. They don't have to pay $1 or
Yes.
a rupee and can use their Marriott Bonvoy points. Similarly, Ed Sheeran,
Yes.
Taylor Swift, or hang out with Lewis Hamilton in
Yeah.
Singapore. Those are money can't buy experiences.
Yes.
And that's the reason our customers stay. So I'll give you another example. Last year, we launched our first co-branded credit card in India with HDFC. Now in the US, for all the folks who've come in from the US would know that, be it American Express or JP Morgan Chase, we have some of the biggest credit card programs with these folks in the US. In Japan, we have a co-branded card with American Express, which has been super successful. And we see that opportunity here. So from our perspective, as these customers are taking on these co-branded credit cards and getting millions of points
Yes.
In their account, they're going to want to travel
Yes.
the world and burn those points,
Yes.
right? So
So,
that's
yes.
the opportunity.
Well, we're out of time. I feel like I could talk about this forever. Banks, experiences, it's all really exciting. Thank you so much,
Thanks
Raj.
so much.
Pleasure
Thank
to
you.
have you here.
Thank you. Thanks again. Thank you.